The Navy SEALs are one of the military's most elite and resilient forces. They undergo rigorous training and they carry out some of the most dangerous combat missions around the world. Joining me now is Eric Greitens. He is a former Navy SEAL. He has served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. He received the Bronze Star for bravery. His book is called The Heart and the Fist, The Education of a Humanitarian and the Making of a Navy SEAL. I am pleased to have him on this program for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
Why the Navy SEALs? When you thought about your own history and when you thought about the demand of being a Navy SEAL?
So there was a moment for me where I had to make a choice about how I was going to live. I was finishing my time at Oxford, and I'd written a PhD on how international humanitarian organizations work with kids in war zones. Right. And I remember I was at this event at Rhodes House, and I looked up, and in the rotunda there, I saw that the names of American Rhodes Scholars who had left the university, had left Oxford in World War II to fight, were etched into the marble. These were people who had left to fight and subsequently died. And I remember looking up and thinking that if they hadn't have made that choice, that I wouldn't be here looking up at them. I was really fortunate in my life. I had so many wonderful teachers in high school, in college, in graduate school who had invested in me. And I felt like I needed to be of service as well. I needed to find a way to pay back. As a kid, I read all of these great stories about the Knights of the Round Table and the Spartans, and I read about World War II. And growing up, I just wondered, where is the adventure? Where are the frontiers? Where are the great causes? And it seemed to me like celebrities and sports figures had all of the attention, and I was trying to search for my purpose, and ultimately I found that through service to others, doing both humanitarian work and then service in the SEAL teams.
So you call the book The Heart and the Fist.
Yes.
Meaning?
So the idea is that we all have to live with both courage and compassion. And sometimes we live in a society where people want to make a distinction between what it means to be good and what it means to be strong. And I think that in order to do anything well, in order to love anything well, we need to live with both courage and compassion. And that's the idea behind the heart and the fist, is that the heart provides us with our direction. It provides us with our purpose, with our passion. But to follow that passion requires everyday perseverance, and it requires discipline, and it requires courage. And it's that combination of passion and perseverance that helps people to win the fights on their own front lines. When I went to college, I remember first semester of my freshman year, I was so disappointed because I expected to be thrown into, this great experience that was going to help me to become someone who could be
and a love affair with learning.
And a love affair with learning, exactly.
And it didn't happen?
It didn't happen at first. Eventually it did. I ended up getting an incredible education at Duke University. I had wonderful professors, but I also had, as part of my education, a boxing coach, Earl Blair, in Durham, North Carolina, who was also a really important part of my education.
So why boxing for you?
Well, my grandfather had boxed in the Depression, and I remember growing up, I always heard these stories from him about boxing and boxers, and I was curious about it. And then finally, when I went to Duke, I had a chance to explore it, and I went down to the city in Durham. I found a gym there, and I ended up finding this great boxing coach, Earl Blair, my training partner, Derek Humphrey, and we fought together almost every night that I was in college.
Did you continue that when you went to Oxford?
I did. I went to Oxford, and Oxford actually had a great boxing team and a really good boxing program, and had a great coach there as well, Henry Dean.
But you also said that at Oxford you found a kind of joy about learning and about the pursuit of the poetry of life.
Yeah. Oxford had these long breaks, and so I could leave Oxford and I could go to work with Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. I could go to Cambodia and work with kids who'd lost limbs to landmines. I could go to Albania. And so it was that ability to combine that great intellectual freedom with the possibility of really doing that service work abroad that made for a great education.
So, but why the SEALs for you?
So part of what was the attraction of the SEAL teams was this incredible test. A lot of people have heard about BUDS, the Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. It's considered to be the hardest military training in the world. And part of
Why is it considered to be the hardest?
Well, they put you through some incredibly tough tests. So they ask you, for example, to swim 50 meters underwater in your first week. They later ask you to swim down 50 feet and tie a knot. They do things like drown-proofing, where they tie your feet together and tie your hands behind your back and make you jump in the pool. and then swim 50 meters with your feet tied together and your hands tied behind your back. In our class, we had over 220 people.
20.
In our original class, and we went down to 20.
Right. So 10%.
Yeah, 10% of us made it through in the original class.
And those that don't make it, you
Yes.
have said,
Yes.
is because fear
Yes.
overcame them.
Yes.
And the thing that had the people who succeeded, how did they handle fear?
So what happens is, as you're going through BUD/S, you are pushed to your physical, mental, and emotional limits and past. You're pushed way past the envelope of your talent to the core of your character. And what happens is everyone is in great pain. Everyone is afraid.
Pain.
Great pain. Searing pain when you're going through a lot of the physical training. Real serious pain. But what happens is people either start thinking about themselves, and they think about all of the pain that they're in. They think about all of the fear about what might happen. And that leads them to collapse. Others who are in that great moment, I remember for myself, there were times when I was thinking, if I were alone, I might not make it. But there's a guy to my left and there's a guy to my right, and they both need me to be strong. And it's if you can step outside of yourself, even in that moment of great pain, and think about what you have to do for others, that's what makes you strong, that's what gets you through, and that's ultimately what creates these incredible teams.
How do you put that experience in contrast to everything you've done with your life?
Yeah. Going through BUD/S, going through Hell Week was for sure the hardest physical experience that I've ever had in my life. It was also, I would say, we call it the best time you never want to have again.
Do you think that we all, though, would be better for ourselves if we demanded more of ourselves
Absolutely.
and we challenged ourselves more physically than we do,
Yes.
and that we somehow were able to develop more confidence because we succeeded in a
Yes.
challenge that we could fail?
Yes, I think that's how people develop confidence, is that you push yourself to a point of pain, you push yourself to a point of fear, and then you find that you can be successful, you develop confidence, and then you can move on to the next challenge. I think we all have to push ourselves, but in order to do that effectively, you also have to have the right kinds of teachers
Right.
and friends and mentors to help you along that journey.
So you complete your service.
Yes,
And then you go to a hospital
yes,
and you see fellow soldiers
Yes.
there.
yes.
And you decide what?
So I went into Bethesda Naval Hospital. I'm talking with these young men and women, 20, 21, 22 years old, and they had been seriously injured. One of them had lost both of his legs. Another had lost his use of his right arm and part of his lung. Another lost a good part of his hearing. And so I said to each one of them, what do you want to do when you recover? And they all say to you, I want to go back to my unit.
Right.
But the fact was,
I want to go back.
I want to go back to my unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the fact was that they weren't going to be able to go back to their unit. And one of them had lost both of his legs, and like I said, and he wasn't going to be able to go back to his unit, but he still wanted to serve. And when I asked him, I said, so what would you want to do if you can't go back to your unit right away? He said to me, I'd really like to find a way to go back home and be a teacher. Another one wanted to be a police officer. Another one said to me that he wanted to find a way to go home to be a football coach and a mentor. So it just became really clear to me that all of these men still had a desire to serve. And that in addition to hearing thank you, they also needed to hear from all of us, we still need you. So I left the hospital. I called two friends who were disabled veterans. They put in the money from their disability checks. I contributed my combat pay, and we used that to start The Mission Continues. And at The Mission Continues, we help wounded and disabled veterans to continue their mission of public service by working in our communities here at home as citizen leaders.
Where do you think I'll find you in 5 years?
I think in 5 years, The Mission Continues, along with other associated veterans organizations, will have won the fight for this generation of veterans. And I think that right now that's the link that I see, is this fight to make sure that this generation of veterans comes home and that they win the battle on their new front lines, living with the heart and the fist here at home. Beyond that, I could imagine many things, but I'm not sure exactly.
You want people to come away reading this book, this story of you and this story of the SEALs, and this story of your own passion and commitment to humanitarian activities. With what?
I want people to know that we all have a front line in our life. We all have a place where our hopes for the future and our hopes for the people that we love come right up against the reality that the world presents to us. And what I've learned doing humanitarian work with refugee families, going through Navy SEAL training, working with wounded and disabled veterans, is that we all have an untapped capacity for courage. And if we're able to tap into that capacity for courage and we can live with both the heart and the fist on our own front lines, then we can win those fights. It's that combination. Everybody knows the physical strength and the courage and the tactical proficiency, but it's also that dedication to service to others. It's that willingness to put others before self. It's that heart that actually makes a SEAL. So it's that combination of the heart and the fist that makes a good warrior. It's somebody who says, I'm going to develop my strength and I'm going to use it to be of service to others. That's what makes a great SEAL. It's that combination of the heart and the fist.
Well, Eric Greitens, the heart and fist are just the combination that we need. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much.